Friends, Romans, and Patriots, lend me your ears and strap on your tinfoil hats because it's time for the Gay Frog Chat. The Gay Frog Chat is a weekly podcast where we go chin deep into different conspiracies. This week, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. Pascal's wager and the death of Scott Adams, if you guys haven't heard about that. Very, very prominent right-leaning talking head speaker, thought leader, artist, author, all kinds of things that you could call Mr. Scott Adams. He was no longer with us, and it's a very, very sad detriment to our side that he's not here anymore, I must say. Also, Iran and Tehran. What's going on over there? We've got the protests in Wisconsin, Minnesota, whatever. You know what I meant. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good night, and we got joined by a couple of guests tonight. I don't think Mr. Pastor Gandalf has been on the show before. How are you doing, Gandalf?
I'm doing just fine. Honda, how are you?
Doing pretty good tonight, actually.
I'm just kidding. I don't actually care. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Nice.
No, I'm doing great. From what you were telling me earlier, it sounds like you're doing fantastic. So,
right on, man. Well, Gandalf here is kind of, I don't know, how would you describe yourself if you had to live like no one's ever heard of you or talked to you before?
In terms of just like who I am,
in terms of like what it is that you talk about online or in group chats or whatever.
Okay.
Like what is it that's your specialty?
So my pronouns are, no, I'm kidding. No, so I am an ordained minister. I work in youth ministry, and so I naturally get pulled into theological discussions and philosophical discussions about God and things like that. And so that tends to be the area which I continually get wrapped into. On top of that, then I'm also just very politically involved and very politically motivated in certain situations. So. I have my ear to the ground on the current events of the nation.
Perfect, man. Well, that's a good introduction. Thank you for that. Mr. Leo, what's going on, man? How are you doing tonight?
Man, everything is awesome. Everything is great, man.
When you're part of the team?
Yes.
We need the Lego song.
Yes.
Well, you know.
Life is so good.
And then you die.
Right.
Well, it's good to have you here, Mr. Leo. Winchworm, how do you do, good sir?
Hey, guys. Oh, I'm hanging in there. I went out on my latest snow adventure on the bike with a broken toe, and I regret every moment of it.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
You have a broken toe? How'd you do that?
Oh, I literally just stubbed it in the kitchen. But I went out dirt biking because it didn't feel too bad, and of course, that night my dirt bike decides to stall, and I have to get towed by a tow strap by side, flat footing my feet every 20 feet or so.
Dabbing with a broken toe.
Oh my God, it was the worst.
Yeah, that sounds fucking terrible, man. I'm sorry. But, you know, I guess it's the price of owning a dirt bike.
Hey, that's the price of freedom. You have the freedom to make bad choices.
So I wanted to start off by just talking about, before we get into anything too theological or whatever, what's going on in Minneapolis versus what's going on in Iran, right?
Minnesota.
The people in Minneapolis who are fighting against ICE and protesting in the streets and getting in cops' faces and doing all the things that they're doing are claiming that we live in a totalitarian regime, that we have a government that is oppressive, that is out murdering its citizens out in the streets, that they are, I don't know, lots of different things, right? And then you look at Tehran, you look at Iran and what's going on in the capital city of Tehran, supposedly, and they shut off the internet for the entire country, yet like yesterday, right? So that they could get some shit done and not have, you know, political pushback, international pushback from other countries. Well, it turns out they've been killing their citizens who have been protesting in the tens of thousands, potentially. There's been different numbers that have been thrown around. No one really knows because the information isn't readily available. It's not like they're like, oh, we shot another 100 tonight. You know what I mean? And moreover, they have multiple citizens who they have arrested for protesting. And there it's actually protesting. They're not doing what they're doing here. They're actually just protesting peacefully. And they've been arrested. And the government of Iran has decided that the punishment for protesting against their government should be that they will be hung to death. So all of the people who have been arrested are going to be hung. And they're machine gunning people in the streets currently. While at the same time, people in America are like, oh, it's like, bro, 2 movies, 1 screen has never been so true. As Scott Adams has fucking told us in the past, that there is currently in this country 2 movies going on in 1 screen. There's one set of facts, and depending on what side of the political aisle you sit on, depends on how you interpret them, meaning that there are 2 different screens, 2 different stories that are being pulled out of 1 screen, and that's crazy. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
You know what? And from the mainstream media, I only seen like they're talking about a bit of what's going on in Iran, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't fit in with their narrative. And then when you talk to like a leftist about this, they're like, well, Iran's another country. Like, okay, what about what was that country that you guys got so mad about? Israel, and the other one, what was that about? I don't remember. Oh, also, how about all that money that you've been sending to that Ukraine country? You guys care about that still?
Well, Honda, you're missing
got
this
the flags in the
situation,
bio.
right? Because Iran is a country. Okay, and Israel is another country in the desert.
I heard that Israel is real.
Well, there.
I hate you for that one.
I was going to say something and I got. Well, I mean,
the reality is like they don't believe anything because their goalposts shift so often. This is what I'm so fascinated by, is how many of them are out of shape and are unhealthy. Because let's be honest, because if anyone knows anything about football goalposts, those things have to be cemented in. So to make those mobile, where you can just freely move them around as quickly as they do on wheels, man, you got to be in shape.
Yeah. Speaking of which, here's a lineup of a bunch of them they just arrested. Not a looker in the group. Ugh.
Is that a they them?
I'm not sure. That's a they them.
Hold on. Go back to the red shirt.
Oh, I'll just let it play. It's on loop right now.
Pause it at the red shirt.
Okay, I got you.
It's one of those things. Does her shirt say what I think it says?
Make racist afraid again.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it said make retards afraid, and I was like, wow. Hold on. I think you're on the wrong side.
That's our word. Yes, that is an R word. Very good. So they've been throwing this around. If your only options are obey the unnamed masked man or die, you don't live in a free country. And it's like, man, you guys take things out of context so much. Why are the ICE agents, why are DHS, why are Homeland Security agents wearing masks? Does anyone know? Can anyone enlighten us as to the reason why they might be wearing masks?
Because they are getting doxxed and their families threatened.
Right. So if you're an ICE agent and you have like a 16-year-old daughter, you might not want your 16-year-old daughter to be the target of some purple-haired freak's fucking ire, right?
Yep.
Be it online or even worse in person, because they track people down. They've done crazy shit before. Wouldn't put it past them, you know. And
we've all seen what the types of things that they'll do, because again, they don't have any morals. Not when it comes to. Not really when it comes to anything, but especially when anyone with our side. So they'll justify things like threatening to grape them or assault them or kill them or anything of the sort.
And they're also perfectly willing to use our morals against us. So they'll Like they'll learn enough about Christianity, for instance, to exploit it and make it like make you hold yourself to the tenets of Christianity while they're like dancing all over them, for instance, you know.
Well,
And
they'd also do that unironically, being the exact type of Christian that was sitting outside of the church saying, "You're a good Christian. You should donate to X cause that Jesus bullwhipped."
yeah, and if Jesus was here, it'd be flipping fucking tables, dude. He'd be flipping goddamn tables. So there's that part. And I was saying,
first.
I said, pretty sure Cap would have grabbed an ICE uniform and suited up. I think I'm not wrong. Oh, I forgot to put this on reply.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me a guy from the 1940s, okay, is who literally went and fought actual Nazis is gonna stand with you? Okay.
So here we have a video of a engineer, we'll call him, who went on a shooting spree, shot multiple people, and then here's a short clip of him actually getting got by the police. He's walking away from them with a gun in his hand, not complying after he shot multiple people, killing one. And everyone is upset because it's a video of the police shooting a black person in the back. See, he's got a gun in his hand right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just got done shooting like 4 or 5 people, one of which is dead. I didn't do nothing.
Oh, splash right in the puddle. It's like the officer did that on purpose, so he would drop in the puddle.
Well, maybe.
Well, this is the thing that people get so hung up on is, first off, any loss of life is tragic, and this is one of the things that I didn't like about our side, which we were celebrating the death of what was her name, Miss Green,
Renee Good.
Yeah, Renee Good. You did see some people on the right who were like, yeah, like that she got what she deserved and everything. It's like, okay, hold on. This is like, as much as we disagree with them, we can't lose the humanity of our side, which says,
right,
you're still a human, right? And so that was the concern on my side. Yeah, we can have the conversation all day long of, you act like a criminal, don't be shocked when things occur, right? But we shouldn't be like dancing on people's graves or anything. Here, this is one of those situations where if you just shot up a bunch of people and killed an individual, right? Law enforcement in their eyes and from a legality statement, you're a threat to the public. They are fully within their rights as cops to take you out, not because you're an inconvenience or anything. No, you're an active threat to the community.
Well, we all celebrated when Bin Laden took that bullet, though.
I don't know if I even celebrated that, because I was more like, okay, you got him. Where's the body? Where's the video? Where's the interview? Where's the interrogation? Where's the evidence?
Well, the body was buried at sea specifically because their religion dictates that they have to have a spot to go to idolize.
I get
it was a sign of disrespect.
But that also gives fuel to the conspiracy theorists who say that Al-Qaeda was a CIA organization that was organized from the Mujahideen after the fall of the Soviet Union to continue to use them in other countries as false flag operations. Osama bin Laden was specifically a CIA grown and fucking owned agent who, by the way, had to have dialysis on his kidneys on a weekly basis up to his death. And
hold on, Honda.
I mean, this is the theory. I'm not saying that.
No, hold on. Look. Like I came on here thinking this was going to be a good show. I didn't realize that you had already got the call from Israel. Okay, like.
Well, when it comes to the whole Israel thing, I do get a little tired of the Israeli derangement syndrome or whatever you want to call it. Like, anytime anything happens that's bad, it's like someone's going to find some link and be like, oh, it's Israel, right? And if there were a specific Jewish individual who broke the law or did something wrong or committed a crime, I would 100% want that individual held accountable. And if it was proven that the Israeli government was involved in something that internationally people were against or didn't like, and it was proven, then I would be 100% on board with sanctioning and you know what I mean? Or Netanyahu being proven of a war crime. Like, okay, put him in prison, right?
Well, but that's the thing that the other side, like the left, can't understand is that's the standard that we hold to everyone on the right, which is I don't care if you happen to be the guy that I voted in. If Trump goes and commits a war crime or turns out to be an actual pedophile, like they've claimed, right? I'll be the first one who stands up and says, okay, yeah, impeach him, get him out of office. Like, we're completely capable of examining ourselves. That's not something they can do on their side.
Nope.
I guess what I'm talking about is that I'm against on our side, coming from us, is that collective guilt, that notion of collective guilt. And it's something that didn't come from us, but it's something that we maybe you call it like the woke right or something, whatever you'd want to call it. Like there's a faction within the right that has these collective guilt ideas that I think we're probably influenced by people like Fuentes and others who have come into the fold lately. And I think if you want to point at a conspiracy, that's probably the conspiracy. Like, why was he pushed so far forward? Why was he part of the, like, YouTube has this algorithm where they very easily press a button and make you disappear. And if they don't want you to, if they want someone to be like pushed forward, they've got another button for that too. So whenever someone like a Fuentes, who's very controversial, who traditionally would have had the disappear button pressed, gets the push forward button pressed, there's some kind of propaganda going on there. And I'm not saying he's even like part of it or a willing participant as much as he's, you know, just like a useful person who has the message that they want to push forward right now, you know? I don't know. Just a thought. I don't have any proof of that one way or another. Anyway.
Although the Jew tunnels is still funny.
Yeah, why were they living under the fucking subway?
Right.
Like they were living like the
Well,
ninja
they tried to claim that it was out of fear of some sort of persecution, and then the tunnels just so happened to go to a couple of registered sex offenders' houses and a daycare.
I didn't know that. Holy shit.
I didn't know that either.
They also
nothing about
the
this.
main tunnel entrance was right next to a bronze statue of a crocodile coming out of the sewer to grab a little girl.
I did see that part. But I mean, like that could just be coincidence. Like that's not necessarily. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not, you know, proof of anything. Really.
Sometimes art imitates life. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know anything about that. So,
Oh, you need to look that up. That is funny.
like, I remember what was it,
Go
like
ahead.
2 or 3 years ago, where like it was a video of them coming out of the like literal tunnels under New York. But that's that's all I saw about it.
Oh, okay.
Well, wasn't there also a guy who went into an insane asylum because he said that he could hear Yiddish in his basement that got released shortly after that?
I think
Or was that just a meme?
No, what it was, like, he posted on Twitter that he could hear like some Yiddish and stuff under his floor, and like people joked on him about it. But now since all of this stuff come out, he was like, "Oh, okay, so am I lying now? Right? Do you think I'm still crazy now?"
Could you imagine feeling as vindicated as that man felt? Like, I imagine that he felt more vindicated than the first man to win an argument with his wife.
Right.
So the point of this video was that here's what they say. MAGA patriots preach officer safety and blind compliance, yet are silent when police shoot someone in the back. If you accept cops firing first and justifying later, you're asking for to live in a police state, and you'll get exactly that. So that's the lie. Like they leave out complete context. They leave out the fact that this guy just shot people and that he's an active threat and that he's walking towards other houses. Like if you lived in one of these houses over here, right? You live here. Wouldn't you be glad that the cops were there to shoot this guy and stop him? I would.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I'm a little bit of a psychopath. I'd wish he came into my house.
I don't know if I would have been happy necessarily that they shot him, but that they stopped him and arrested him for sure. Right. And if they had to shoot him, I guess, like that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Like I'm not cheering on yay, like another person died, but it's one of those things of like, like you actively chose to go and shoot at others, and then also actually ended the life of someone. Like your actions have forfeited your right to life in this moment.
Yeah.
Oh, he faced the consequences of his actions, just like my middle toe.
Which leads to this story. Keith Porter Jr. was a father of two, a son and a brother, whose life was stolen by an off-duty ICE agent. Oh my God. And that sounds bad. His family gathered in grief, demanding the truth. We will continue to stand with Keith Porter Jr.'s family until there is justice, transparency, and the answers. Well, it turns out that the guy in question, and I don't know if I have all the facts about this like 100% correct, so forgive me if I get a little bit of it wrong, but had an AR-15 in his hands, was shooting it in the air when the off-duty officer was like, what in the fuck? Like drew his gun, ordered the guy to drop his gun, who then turned and pointed the gun at the off-duty officer.
Yeah. Apparently it was doing a New Year's celebration. So he was out shooting the rifle in the air. Or was it a pistol? An AR pistol? I don't remember. But he was out shooting it in the air. Right.
So yeah, there could be like some part of that that's incorrect. But certainly little Ben Crump's post about this, about Keith Porter Jr. and the brother, the son, the father of two, whose life was stolen, kind of leaves out some pretty important context, doesn't it? Because that's all they do is they lie. It's just lie after lie after lie.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I believe everything that's on the internet and that's on the news.
Here we have Reverend Ray Christman talking about Scott Adams, who died. And there's going to be a couple stories about Scott Adams here. Scott Adams ain't fitting to see black people where he's going. Now, do you guys know what he got in trouble for about 3 years ago, Scott Adams?
Yes.
So basically it was he does a daily podcast, and he talks about news stories and statistics and, you know, surveys and all kinds of different stuff. And there was a survey that was done on African-American people in Chicago or something like that, I think. And they were talking about, in the survey, they were like, do you think that white people are lesser, or I forget the exact wording of it, but it was something like that. And something like 45% of the people who answered were like, yep, white people are lesser. We don't like them. And Scott said something to the effect of, get away from black people. And so they took that as, well, this guy's a racist and we have to cancel him. And they took all of he had Dilbert comics that were posted and published in over 100 newspapers around the country, that all 100 newspapers pulled the Dilbert comics and canceled him. Yeah, they really came after Scott Adams for that, without knowing the context, without knowing what it was that he said, and without knowing why. And, you know, again, this is a situation where I actually wasn't a fan of Scott Adams when this happened, so I'm not intimately familiar with exactly what happened that got him the ire. So if I'm missing some piece of context or whatever, please let me know. But that's my understanding of what happened. And man, there's people who've done way worse things than that. And I'm pretty sure that when they were persecuting him and canceling him, they were kind of like leaving out some context there. So there's that part. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that. Also, how is it Christian for a reverend to be like, I don't know, gloating over a dead person? Is that Christian? Is that a Christian thing to do?
There's a lot of ministers and pastors that are ministers and pastors in name only right now. I saw a video of a female pastor, which is an oxymoron in and of itself.
Was it a female gay pastor?
Like no, like the literal video. She's standing up, giving her sermon or whatever, right? And is actively talking about how Christ wants us to be oppressed because of the whole pick up your cross and follow me. And the cross was an oppressive tool. And, you know, I disagree with Jesus here. And I'm sitting here going, oh, okay, so he's not your king then, because he's also not your God. Because I'm flipping through my Bible, like looking back at my Bible, looking back at the video, going, where do I get to disagree with him? I didn't know that was part of the program.
But you know what? When Scott Adams died, do you know who I instantly thought of? Honda.
Well,
I was like,
wa-
no, all right.
I've
I know
watched
Honda's
him-
going to talk about it.
I've watched Scott Adams' show, Coffee with Scott Adams, every single morning almost for about the past 2 years. Because the guy is like, you ever like listen to someone who's smarter than you? And like you hear someone who, and you could just tell in like the way that they speak and the things that they know, and you could just tell, like, man.
Yeah, that's
This
pretty
guy is
much
fucking
90% of people that I listen to are smarter.
I mean,
than
I
me.
imagine for you, Honda, like that must be every day.
Eh.
All right, that's my last jab at you for the night.
No, every day for me. Damn.
No, so like I'll do that. So I'm a member of the Evangelical Theological Society, which is like a giant research group, and every year they have like an annual meeting to come and go and like present all like the best, like the latest research. And you'll have guys who come in who have like 4 PhDs in like ancient languages and archaeology and Egyptologists and everything else that come in, and you're just sitting there going, you have read more books than I will have time in my entire life to read.
Right. Like, you've forgotten more than I know. Like,
Yeah.
What you will always know who has a PhD without even asking.
Well, yeah, because they're going to tell
they
you.
will tell you. Right?
that is true.
So, considering the people that may or may not be in the room that have read more than I'll be willing to read in my whole life, what do you wager?
Right. So Scott Adams, to put this in context, about a week ago, and he just died this morning for people who don't know, did his morning show, and he talked about the fact that he was giving his life over to Jesus, and he knows that it's the very end, and he's literally making Pascal's way. He like mentioned it by name, and I don't know, like there's arguments to have about that, because like one argument would be like, oh, well, if you didn't live your life as a Christian, you didn't like give your life over to Jesus when it mattered, when you had, life left, then what does it matter at the end? But then the other argument is like, there was the guy on the cross next to Jesus, you know what I mean? And
the thief on the cross.
Right.
Very famous.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts,
Yeah,
Mr. Gandalf?
It's so Pascal's wager is this whole concept of basically to put it into a rough sentence, right? And it's a very textile, pretty complicated, is basically hedging your bet, right? If God exists, then then I'll go and like put my flag down on his side, and that way, whatever happens, I'll be taken care of, right? And so it gets into the whole conversation about personal relationship with God. What is actual faith? Is it intellectual? Is it more than intellectual? Because Pascal's wager really emphasizes like the logic and reasoning within Christianity, which is true that there is logic and reasoning behind it. But the mere belief in God is not what saves you. It's who you declare who Christ is. Because as Paul says, even the demons believe. They have knowledge of the fact that there is a God, right?
Right.
Paul tells us that all of humanity on their hearts knows that God exists, right? Because creation cries out for its creator. So this is what that gets into, is that whole is intellectual belief in God enough? It doesn't need to be farther and things like that. I think Pascal's wager is a great evangelical tool, because it gets people thinking about God. But I fear for guys who like just stop right there and leave. I think it's a great tool for people who are like considering Christianity or trying to figure this whole God thing out. But I don't think it's a good place to end, if that makes any sense.
What about from a tenets of Christianity point of view? Like, would someone who honestly made the pledge or whatever you want to call it on their deathbed. Does that count? Do you get in because of that?
Well, like it depends on like the genuality of the declaration, right?
Yeah, if you're genuine, I was saying for sure.
Well, then yeah. Like, as
but now the question is, was he genuine? Because he literally said in the letter that he made Pascal's wager, and he said he doesn't believe, which makes me think that that's all kind of kaput.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, let's say you were
like, I would need to see what his actual
genuine,
statement
but
was.
like,
can we pull up his actual statement and read it real quick?
Do I have it? Hold on.
I bet you if you look up his final letter, get it first try.
If you're reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind, and as I write this, January 1st, 2026, if you were wondering about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know that I am free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any kind, I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I am not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks attractive. So here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that. And I hope I am still qualified for entry. With your permission, I'd like to explain something about my life. And then he goes on about a bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do with that.
Well, so this is presenting a works-based salvation. Because he's talking about, I hope I'm still qualified for entry. He's essentially describing a salvation post-death.
And here's the thing. If you haven't murdered anybody innocent, raped someone, like rob people.
Well, I mean, by
you still have a pretty good chance.
I would agree with you if it weren't for the fact that all sins are equal.
Yeah. Well, and as Scripture says, all have fallen short of the glory of God. Like we are all, like, this is the thing about Christianity. God comes down, right, and saves us from the grave we were already in. It's not that we were going to hell, like we were going to the grave, and then Christ stops that. We were already in the grave, and Christ gives us the opportunity to come out of the grave. So it's not a situation of, oh, well, he stopped you from falling in. No, you were already in the grave. And there is no conversation of like, if you didn't murder anybody, or if you didn't, grape anybody, or if you didn't assault anyone, lie, cheat, steal, or anything, because in terms of the presence of God, God cannot be in the presence of sin, and sin cannot be in the presence of God. And so to enter into his kingdom, you have to be perfected. That only comes to the righteousness of Christ. So there can't be a single blemish. And every human being has a blemish.
Right. But I just can't say that like every sin is equal. Nah.
Well,
yeah.
and it's an honest struggle for a lot of Christians. And to be honest with you, while my theology does present it as such, I'm not going to lie to you and say every Christian believes that. This is a big debate amongst evangelicals and Lutherans and Catholics and Orthodox, right? Are there different tiers of sin and things like that? That like it's a literal difference within our own internal structures of theology, because that gets into like human tradition and things like that. But it is a struggle that within all three of them, it's something that you have to wrestle with.
It's weird, dude. Like yesterday, I was talking to a couple of friends of mine, and the subject of death, for some reason, I think about, I wouldn't say all the time, but daily. I think about my own death. I think about people that I know who have died. I think about like people who I care about who will die. You know, like I think about a lot of stuff, a lot of that, and it's not constant. It's not, but it is every day. It's a daily thing that I think about. And I was like asking my friends, like, hey, do you guys think about this daily too? And most of them don't.
A lot of people don't. We've really gotten away from having normal discussions about philosophy and morals and ethics and things like that. It's one of the things that I do in our youth groups now. We do like a question night, and I start having them critically think about, okay, we say this is good. Well, why do we say this is good? Like what about this is making this morally good, right? And of course, we're in church, so we obviously think we believe that morals come from God and things like that. But you know, you go back to the past generations, right? And you used to have like 12 and 14-year-olds discussing the current events and like the moral implications and philosophical implications. And now we don't have that because we've dumbed down our kids. And the thing is, as someone who works with youth, the same kids that we have today, the only reason why they've been dumbed down is because we have forced them. And if you force them out of that and you force them to start turning those gears in their head, the kids today can be just as intelligent as kids in past generations have been.
I feel I kind of equate it to like wolves and dogs, right? Like wolves are these strong creatures that are highly intelligent and like live in nature in the wild and survive and are kind of dangerous, and you know, and that's kind of like our ancestors. I don't know how many generations you have to go back to get to like the wolf equivalent of a human, but at a point there was more wolf, you know, like wolf to dog. We were more like wolves back then, and we're more like dogs now. And what's the difference between a dog and a wolf? A dog is basically a wolf that just stays in puppyhood. They're just a puppy for their whole life, right? They never have to grow up. They never have to be the leader of the pack. They never, you know, they just get fed and petted and loved and treated well. And, you know, they wag their tail and look cute and they get treats and fucking, I don't know, man. So we're kind of like the dogs and our ancestors are wolves is kind of how I look at it. Like we've gotten soft, but that's not to say like, okay, if you take a dog and you put him in a wolf pack, chances are if the wolves don't eat him, you know, if they accept him into the pack, the dog can learn to be a wolf again. The dog can learn to do the wolf things. The dog can run with the pack and hunt and howl and do all the things that wolves do. So it's not.
Are you trying to say that life will find a way?
And it depends on the dog. Don't know will it survive the winter.
I was just trying to quote
let's be
Jurassic
honest.
Park.
I've seen some dumb dogs.
Yeah, and there's some pretty dumb humans too, to be honest.
Well, yeah, to be fair,
Well,
yeah.
Just as biology wise.
Do you know what the biggest? You guys know what the biggest mechanical hurdle is for the National Forest Park Service?
Bigfoot?
Roads?
The overlap between the dumbest tourist that can operate a trash can and the smartest bear that can still operate that trash can.
Yeah, they have like the bear-proof food containers. They have to like design them in a certain way too. Like
dude, they can't make garbage cans the average American tourist can use because bears are smarter than the average American tourist.
Right. And if they make them so the bears can't get into them, most people can't either.
Wait, that's why I can't get into those things? Oh my gosh.
I mean, to be honest, if this is your first time trying to open up a bear-proof garbage can, yeah, it would
to be fair, you're like,
difficult.
what? Yeah, what is this?
Leo, have you had trouble opening up the trash can?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
But there's not a lot of bears.
There's some delay there.
There's not a lot of bears in Chicago, so like every once in a while you might get a bear in Northern Illinois or something like that, but never in Chicago.
Did you guys hear about this story? TSA found millions of dollars in cash in the luggage of Somalians at Minneapolis airport.
Man, I don't even know why this is a story, because we all know that this has been occurring either with Somalians or with Hispanics in Mexico. Like, this has been a thing.
I'm sure those are donations to, like the children's schools and stuff.
Now, to be fair, the story goes, if you actually read it, is that this has been going on for months and years. This is not anything new. When they go through TSA, if you have above a certain amount of cash, you have to declare it. So they are going to the check-in and declaring the money and, going through the process. But the thing is, no one's asking them about where they got the money or where it's going or what they're using it for or any of that. And in light of all of the allegations of fraud, the seemingly legitimate allegations of fraud, makes one wonder, how much money has gone on these planes to Somalia to fund Somalian whatever or terrorist organizations or whatever it is this money is going to. Anyway,
there's a Garden Snake is out in the chat.
Oh yeah, I'm not even looking at the chat. What's up? Says, I think Honda and I have deep conversations, but I don't think about death every day. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, dude, I think that, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but certainly I've been exposed to a lot of it in my life. And so it kind of looms over me in a way that I don't think it does the average person. I put a climber clip on my gates and wait.
Oh, geez.
I put a climber clip on my gates, and every man, dad, brother, father-in-law can walk right up and open the gate. They just unclip it. Every woman that tries to open my gate ends up
I'm gonna end up having to leave. Oh man,
that's fucking hilarious, dude.
That's so messed up.
Anyway. So yeah, here's the TSA agent talking about how they've been doing it for years and how she's seen, like tons of flights with Somalian men flying out of Minnesota with secure suitcases full of cash.
So it was a TSA agent that leaked it.
I mean,
make sure suitcases filled.
Okay,
Since all this fraud came out,
let's listen to her.
Suitcases filled with millions of dollars of cash, and the couriers were always Somali men traveling in pairs, and they got through the checkpoint. It just really absolutely blew my mind the first time you open a suitcase and you see millions of dollars of cash. And typically what would happen is the Leo or a law enforcement officer would come, check their credentials. I don't know what kind of questions they asked them, but their IDs were always documented, and probably their plane tickets as well. So there is a trail of that out there. And I would believe with all the cameras at the airport that if they started there, they could probably find each and every individual that brought money through the checkpoint.
Obviously, this seems suspicious, if not alarming, given what seems to be a pattern here. So you're talking about millions of dollars flying out of Minneapolis.
He's like two angry librarians.
It happened
Dude, I was just thinking
right?
that
So
those
it certainly
look
seemed
like
like it
the
happened
people that
every
I would
week.
expect to return a library book
The
to.
suitcases came in, and it was always, the MO was always two Somalian men traveling in pairs. Sometimes
They both sound like they would repeatedly tell me to shush.
Bro, and I don't think I reposted this story. There's another story about a Somalian person who's being charged with fraud crimes who has court pending, right? And they're already going through jury selection. They gave money to someone to give to one of the jury members to pay them off, right? It was like $150,000, $200,000, something like that, right? Well, the jury member was like, yo, they tried to buy me off, fucking bust them. And like they did the investigation. It turns out that the person that was trying to pay off the jury member was given money by the defendant, right? But they were given like $300,000 by the defendant and skimmed off the top and tried to pay the person like 200. So it's like it's in their nature, like they can't even fucking they can't even get their fucking bribe payments fucking from point A to point B without fucking skimming.
Well, so is it safe to say that the left at this point is just one gigantic Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, I mean, it with how much they were fighting against the USAID stuff, you would think that a good port. Okay, so like my understanding is like 9 out of 10 of the USAID programs are Democrat run, and about 1 out of 10, like 10% of them are Republican. And the overwhelming majority of them have known fraud or some kind of fraud, you know, with kickbacks and payments to the people who keep the programs going and keep the payments coming. So like a lot of the donations that go to senators and House members and stuff like that supposedly come from the USAID. So it's like they fund USAID to do the things that they're doing, but then they also get campaign finance back from the financing of these things, which is why they're okay with it. If that makes sense.
It's all just one giant money laundering network because it gets laundered out and in.
Right. And there was a story recently about like the total holdings of all NGOs in the United States, of which there are tens of thousands. There are really a lot. There are too many. And it was something in the order of like $14 trillion worth of holdings. Like, and these are government funded, right? How do these government funded organizations, non-government organizations, have $14 trillion of holdings currently? And who's in charge of that money and who's keeping track of it? And, you know, like, what is it being used for? Is there any accountability? Turns out, no, there's none of that. There's no oversight. And as, again, another lesson from Scott Adams, any complicated system where money is involved without oversight is guaranteed to have corruption. Guaranteed. Just takes a matter of time. Like, maybe not on day one, but once people get into the system and figure out how to game the system will be gamed because it's complicated and there's no oversight. Period. And that's just the way it works. And that's a lot, dude. $14 trillion. Like, how much money does the federal government owe? It's like double that, something like that, like 30 trillion. Current national debt. And they say that it's something like $1 trillion a year currently is being spent on fraudulent things, on, you know, basically fraud. So if we cut that $1 trillion a year out and we could recoup that $14 trillion worth of holdings, it seems to me like our debt problem wouldn't be nearly as bad. But then you look at the price of silver. Did you guys see the price of silver today?
No.
I really should have bought into silver months ago.
So yesterday it hit at a historic, I think it was like $60 an ounce.
Like, it's at like what, 85 now?
And yeah, and it jumped like another. Let's look it up real quick.
Like, it's ridiculous.
89.81.
Wow.
So if you go back to January 8th, it was 73. So in 5 days, it's gone from 73 to 89. Like, I remember back in the day, it was like $14 an ounce. You know, 15.
Well,
they got like 20 for a while.
Doesn't silver have a lot of computer applications?
Oh,
That
yeah.
is-
So
That's part of what's driving up the cost.
yeah, like all the AI facilities, and then a lot of the new electrical cars, because silver is a better conductor than copper, they're choosing to go with silver. The problem is silver is more expensive, so which is increasing the price of everything, but then it's also ramping up the value of silver.
So yeah, I mean,
So do you think this will only be a temporary increase, or do you think this will be a continued increase because of industry?
I don't think we'll ever see it go back down to what it was. I'm sure it'll be like a little tiny bubble that little pops eventually, but I don't think we'll ever see it go back down to what it used to be.
Does that mean that silver mining is
That's
going to
not
be
financial advice, by the way. That's Pastor Gandalf's personal opinion.
Do you think that silver mining is going to be a thing again? Because if the price of silver is so high, like, okay, Colorado, home to many, many silver mines. We had way more silver in Colorado than gold. And for the longest time, because the dollar was backed by silver and gold, silver was bought at a certain price by the federal government, which made the production of silver viable for companies to do. And when the government stopped going off the gold and silver standard, the price of silver dropped to the point where tons of silver mining companies went out of business, right? And there's tons of silver mines in Colorado that are just like decommissioned, boarded up, haven't used it in, 100 years type shit. And if, the price of silver has gone up so high, it kind of makes going into those mines and reopening them and mining for silver kind of viable again, doesn't it? Just a thought.
Well, I would think so, but like the technological advancement for the computer stuff, I think it's going to drive a huge demand for a short period of time, and then it's always that some new technology comes and replaces the most expensive component, right?
So here we have President Trump backing the idea of attacking the Iranian regime over what they've been doing to the protesters, the brutal massacre of protesters in their country, while at the same time the protesters in this country are claiming that Trump's doing that here. So Trump's trying to stop Iran from doing the thing that the Democrats are accusing him of doing here. And the irony is they won't even talk about Iran because of that. I just find that
Still
to be...
think about it.
Yeah. It's one of those cognitive dissonance things, Governor Tim Walz calls up the Minnesota National Guard.
Oh, no.
Look at me. I am the National Guard now. I am Minnesota.
Arr.
Well, look, my brother-in-law happens to be a mayor in that state, and I got to be honest with you, not the average person feels that way. It's the city slickers that really feel that way.
Well, yeah, like didn't we have that story the other day where like the average Joe is starting to turn on the protesters because like they can't go to work and it's like they're not getting paid or anything like that. Like they're actively messing with them.
Well, when you stop people in traffic when they're trying to get home to their kids, you might piss somebody off,
Mm-hmm.
And most people are going somewhere. You don't hop in your car and drive somewhere because it's usually because you got something to do or because you want to get back home. Anyway, isn't it against the law to block traffic anyway? Like that's not part of protesting.
Well, something got changed federally so that you wouldn't get charged with manslaughter.
I know in like Florida, they made it legal to run over protesters. Like if someone gets in your way while you're like, if like they jump on the fucking on-ramp and you run one of them over by accident, like that's their fault for being on the on-ramp. And if they surround your car and start beating on it with baseball bats and you gas it and happen to like have to run one or two of them over to save your life, they're like self-defense. And that kind of makes sense to me. Like,
yeah, but it's not self-defense if you're trying to run over one or two ICE agents to save your life.
Well, the thing about that is, and that's a very lefty way to put it, is I don't think the ICE agents were trying to kill her until she tried to run them over. And if she had complied with them, they certainly wouldn't have killed her. The worst that would have happened was she would have gotten charged with some sort of obstruction, and she would have been put in prison for, jail like overnight, maybe. And that would have been...
I was joking.
Okay.
Probation. Most likely should just get probation and community service.
Or not even. I mean, if it was up to local law enforcement and local DA, they would just drop the charges as soon as they got to the court.
Right.
Well, the local law enforcement and DA made sure that less than a year later, a child molester who had been convicted and charged and found guilty and everything, an illegal immigrant, was out of the system and in a house and needed to be arrested, and that was who she was protecting.
I think when it comes to the ICE agents who are arresting people for obstruction, that it's a federal crime and they will have to go to federal court, and then it will have basically nothing to do with anything local. I don't know, like there might be
no, what I'm trying to say is the illegal immigrant that was being deported that she tried to protect was a child molester who was already out of prison. This is exactly what we voted for.
It's pretty crazy, the argument that we're having, you know? And if you were like to hop in a time machine and go, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago and say like, oh, by the way, Democrats, here's what you're going to be arguing for in 15 years. Here's the arguments that we're going to be having that your side is going to be advocating for. They'd be like, fuck no, I'm not part of that. Or more likely, they'd be like, you're a liar. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that we would be arguing that. I can see no universe where the Democrat Party would be arguing for keeping Somali immigrants here in the country so that they can continue to steal from our fucking welfare system and enrich themselves in their country and use that money to fund terrorism. They'd be like, there's no way we would be for that. Well, you are. Like, it's where we're at. Chaos erupts as hundreds of Somalians storm ICE operation at Strip Mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Hundreds of Somalis storm an ICE. Oh, you just fucking said the same thing again. Owen Gregorian. ICE agents were surrounded by hundreds of Somalians blowing whistles and protesting at the officers conducting a raid on a Somali-owned business in the strip mall. ICE out, the mob of Somali protesters shouted. ICE agents deployed tear gas to disperse the protesters after they blocked their vehicles from exiting the parking lot. Democrat State Senator Eric Putman was spotted amid the chaos trying to act like a barrier between the protesters and the federal agents. Don't even get close, Putman said. It's a stressful moment, a really intense confrontation. It's a reasonable response when you see this in your neighborhood, Democrat State Senator Putman said. See, and this is the lie, dude. They're like, the ICE agents have no right to detain American citizens. Well, you know what they do have the right to do is to investigate someone to see if they are an illegal alien or not, right? And if they detain you, and it turns out you're not, you're actually a citizen. Sorry, I'm having trouble speaking right now. It turns out you're actually a citizen. Well, they had the right to detain you and investigate, and then they release you. That's the way that works. Now, if you interfere with their investigations, they also have the right to arrest you. Right? Now, if you're just protesting, if you're just sitting there on the sidelines with a sign, you know, saying things, you're right. They don't have any right to arrest you, but that's not what people are doing. So again, they just constantly lie. Again, there's no arguing with stupid. They're just going to drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. That's what they do. So don't argue with these people, but know that they don't know the facts. Know that they don't know the truth. Know that they don't know the law, and know that the facts, the truth, and the law are not on their side. Anyway, I lost my place. Oh, did you guys see this video? Oh my God, this is my new fucking hero. Although this guy, he's going to be charged with a crime. I guarantee you. This guy will be charged with assault, even though he's the one being assaulted.
He's actively defending himself.
Just because of the where it is. So I don't know. Like, look out for a GoFundMe for this guy, but look at this dude. Actually, I don't even want to fucking play the music. So this guy's getting in his face and he's, you know, they're blowing whistles and he's putting the fucking thing in his ear, which is already assault. Putting a megaphone up to someone's ear and like blasting it as loud as you can is assault. He's trying to get away. He's trying to get away. He's had enough. Rocked that guy. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4, kind of. And this guy, the guy in the red, this guy's the original dude. Okay, there's number 5.
Yeah.
So he's the original guy who had the megaphone up to his ear.
Mhm.
He's now walking up like fucking Mr. T. He's throwing his gloves off, right? He's going to get him. I'm going to go up and I'm going to jack this guy. Watch what happens. He's got 5 down, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Pa.
It's a reminder to make sure that you size up your opponent.
Number 6.
I believe we call that a different weight class, sir.
Number 7. There was 7 people. I guess one of them was knocked out twice. Okay, so 6 people. Reminds me of a fight I got once in high school. I used to be bigger. Now I'm just fucking old. Sucks. It'll happen to you too. Keep breathing. Anyway.
Keep breathing? Yeah, I think everyone should keep breathing.
Right. I'm saying you will get old too. Keep breathing. Find out. So reportedly, a U-Haul driver drove through a crowd of protests during an Iranian regime. Crowd protesting the current Iranian regime in Los Angeles along Veterans Avenue. And this dude is being charged with a crime, as far as I understand. But, like, what do you do if you're surrounded by a mob of people who are beating on your vehicle and breaking the windows and trying to pull you out? At what point do you hit the gas and say, like, you know, like, I know I'm going to get charged with a crime. I know they're going to put me in jail for this. But at least I won't be beaten to death on the street by a mob of people.
Well, so there's a further video of that one where the cops are actively trying to get him out of the U-Haul to arrest him. And they can't because they're actively also fighting back the mob. Because the mob wants to just like have mob rule and deal with him right then and there.
Right, which is kind of proves the point of why he needed to get the fuck out. And also, where was the first place that he stopped? Oh, when he saw police officers. He's like, fuck, there's the police. I'm stopping. It's not the actions of a guilty person. It's the actions of someone who is terrified for his life because there's a bunch of fucking insane asylum people walking in the streets, especially in Los Angeles.
Third of Gen Z.
Oh, this is fucking crazy. We don't have to watch the whole video, but
Would you be surprised if I told you that 1/3 of Gen Z has already passed away?
And we were talking about this the other night, and what we determined is it's not quite 1/3, but maybe it is if you include like everyone who's died of natural causes, suicide, car accidents, etc., childhood cancer. And then you also
I think that's what that number includes.
And then you add in the abortions, then you get to 1/3 of, so it's 1/3 of millennials.
1/3 of Gen Z has already passed away.
So if you're in Gen Z, there's 1 out of 3 people who should be alive today, or at least who, potentially could have been alive today who's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of an insane thought. And I think it's less the older you get, well, to a point. Like, I think if you look at Gen X or millennials, the number of abortions was slightly, it's increased over time. So it was lower back then. And so even with the deaths, and even though we're older, I don't think we've gotten quite to that same level. And like, you look at the population of each generation, it's going down and down and down. And that's a big part of why is the number of abortions.
Wow.
Oh.
Anyway, they're all shocked. All tyrants rule through fraud and force, but once the fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. George Orwell. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now in this country.
They keep quoting him, and I don't think they know what he actually meant.
What do you mean?
Like liberals keep quoting him.
Oh, right. Yeah, because he wrote 1984 as a warning, not as like a prescription.
Right. Conservatives read 1984 and go, we can never get to this. And liberals read it and go, the blueprint.
Right. Exactly. George Orwell, our savior. What was the other one?
I know how to run a society now. Reads Animal Farm.
Oh no, it's Brave New World. That's the other book that everyone always quotes or talks about as far as like where we're at. The lowest estimate for yearly U.S. fraud tops $521 billion. So that's where we're at right now. $521 billion of annual fraud in this country. And Elon says it's much higher. I believe him.
Fantastic.
So there was a couple of trucks delivering fuel to local gas stations in Colorado that put diesel fuel in the regular fuel and no one noticed, and a bunch of people filled up their cars with diesel and like ruined their cars. So there's like thousands of cars in the Denver metro area that because of some Somali fucking truck driver or whatever the case is, I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he was just a white guy, but I digress. They fucked up, and all these people's cars are fucked up. What was that?
Never mind the noise.
No. We're not going to move forward until you explain the noise.
No.
It was his male masturbator.
Oh, okay. Now I want to move forward.
No, to be honest, it is my vibrating chair seat thing.
No.
Right.
No.
So this from...
hey, thanks for having me on. Look, Gandalf's going to go ahead and sign off, all right? Gandalf doesn't feel like getting fired from his current church, so...
Well, we were joking. I'm sorry.
Y'all going to get me so in trouble.
Cynthia McKinney, PhD. If you remember her, she was one of the House of Representative members, or maybe she was in the Senate. I actually don't remember which it was. But post 9/11, who was questioning the validity of the 9/11 Commission report and got ousted by, she was a Democrat, got ousted by other Democrats for having opinions that were unpopular. Anyway, she says, got cancer? Did you take the COVID shot? Journal that published a peer-reviewed article connecting the COVID shots to sudden bursts of cancers, even in young children, is cyber attacked and taken offline.
Wow.
I'll just let that one sit there for a second.
Let it bake in the sun.
400 Somalians arrested by ICE in the last 4 days. What are your thoughts on that?
Only 400?
Say it's a start.
So 100 a day? Yeah, it's not bad.
No, those are rookie numbers. We need to get those numbers up.
And
here's given the manpower they have,
Here's the video.
Well, yeah, they did just get a lot of new officers.
Yeah, and they need a lot more, honestly.
Right, yeah.
Here's the video of the officer from his own chest cam or whatever that's going to completely exonerate him. And we'll skip to the part that matters. Walking around the back, talking to the wife.
U.S. citizen, former fucking guy. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
So they say, get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the fucking car.
Get out of the car.
She backs up. Now she's facing directly towards him, looking directly at the officer with the shit-eating grin on her face. At this point, puts it in gear and her tires are already spinning, although you can't see them.
Fucking wow.
Yeah, and like that whole thing happens in like 1 second. All 3 shots and him getting hit. It was all like within the same reaction, within the same.
Yeah.
So if they take this to court, dude's exonerated. If any DA looks at this, they're not charging him.
Yeah,
No, they're not.
this is the literal definition of tragic but justified. It's completely justified within the law. And it is tragic because the reality is she didn't need to die. She didn't need to be there. She had no business being there. Like it's a senseless loss of life in the sense, not of the sense of like, oh well, he like just executed her. No, it's in the sense of you shouldn't have been there doing what you were doing.
And there's a pretty clear difference between this lady getting shot and the Iranian protesters getting shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you ask the people on the streets of Minneapolis, they would consider themselves exactly like the Iranian protesters being shot. And that's where the disconnect is. That's where the 2 movies on one screen is being played. And I don't know how to solve that one. I don't know how to like deprogram people. I don't know how to get, I mean, it can't be us that does it. It's got to be them, first of all. But how do you create the preconditions in which they will start to wake themselves up? I'm not even sure about that.
Just know, I was only laughing at that fucking bitch part he said.
Well, and yeah, have you seen all the posts online about he called her a fucking bitch? That means blah blah blah. He called her a fucking bitch. That means he should be charged with a crime. Yeah, you wouldn't do he. Yeah, all the things, dude. Like it's fucking it's infuriating. But then you kind of realize like, you know, most of these people are just either NPCs or they're actually like provocateurs who are saying things intentionally because that's how you get fucking traffic on Twitter or whatever. You know, if you want fucking people to come to your page and check it out and click on it and get interaction, you have to say something controversial. And so there's a certain amount of farming that's going on, right? But yeah, there's a lot of stupid people out there is the problem. Is the real problem.
Yeah. Now, plus, have you seen like the pictures and video that's coming out of Iran of all the shot protesters?
Wait, say that again.
Oh, have you seen the pictures and videos that's coming out of Iran of the shot protesters? Yeah.
And there's stuff that we cannot show on this very chat right here, right now, because of that. Yep. Because there's just piles of dead bodies, because there's videos of people being machine gunned down, because there's a morgue just stacked full of fucking bloody bodies, dude.
Oh, the one man that was still alive, but he was like, he was like spitting up blood and stuff. I was like, I
didn't see that one.
Yeah, I did not wanted to see that one, but I did anyway.
Scroll through iFunny right now. You'll see all the stuff that you want.
Right. And again, that's stuff that unfortunately YouTube, or fortunately, I don't know, depending on how you look at it, YouTube would not like us to look at that and me to continue to have a channel. So we're not going to.
Well, yeah, no, we can tell people where to check it out. That's a little different.
So there's this story. Wisconsin man is admitted to killing his parents to steal their money to fund a plot to assassinate the president. Nikita casually pleaded guilty to intentional homicide in Waukesha County on January 8th. Charges of 2 counts of hiding a corpse, 2 of theft or movable property, 2 for identity theft, 1 for taking a vehicle without consent, and 1 for intimidating a witness with a threat of force. Were dismissed as part of the plea. So he got a plea deal. For years, leftists have some Democrats have been encouraging people to kill Trump to protect democracy and stop hate. It's been led by, Sorry, I'm getting tired. I think
his mugshot doesn't make him look evil at all.
Yeah, he looks pretty sane to me.
Right.
I'd like to have him over for Christmas dinner.
Yes.
Oh, this is video of January 6th. We talked about this last week. This is actually an old post from the last chat that we did. All right, that means we're through all the stories. That's it. We're done.
All caught up.
That's it. All right. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to talk about? Anything you'd like to promote? Anything at all?
Nope.
Just Labor Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July weekend. We're going to be gathering up in Ohio to do some off-roading if you guys want to join us. That's at Forbidden Zone Campground.
Dude, that sounds fucking sick. It really, really does. I don't know that I will be able to make it, but I'm going to try. It does sound like
on average, around 4,000 to 7,000 people make it to each event every year.
Yeah, I want to bring a motorbike and do it. I want to bring my bicycle and ride it where I like. Well, all right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. Let's say goodbye to everybody. Deuces, y'all. Shauna P. and Fridge. Trooper shopping out of pressure. Batacath care. Prec the troops. 2 words made in America. And we'll see y'all next time. Deuces.
Go Bears.